Hi, I'm Bill Warner. Today I'm going to be interviewing a favorite person of mine, which is Cyrus. I've known Annie for some years. She's a member of a group of people who are courageous, which is that she's an apostate from Islam, which is, since you can be killed, is a dangerous position. But she's more than just that. She's a hero because she has made public her stance against political Islam. So I'm delighted to be talking to her. How long have we known each other, Annie?
Oh, wow. I want to say probably in about 7 or 8 years now.
Something like that. Well, first question. You were born a Muslim, but yet you left. What caused you to do that?
That's a hard question to answer. What got me to leave Islam was years of questions, red flags, torture, slavery. But what got me to start questioning Islam was actually when I was getting ready, about age 8, as they were preparing me to become an adult woman at age 9. And I was learning, the hijab, the prayer wash up, the prayer itself, call to prayer, all of that. And I was told I need to learn all of that in Arabic. And it went off in my head. I'm like, wait a minute, this guy created me, but I have to be the bilingual one. Trust me, that did not go unpunished. And the punishment for that actually was the second red flag. Wait a minute. So I'm asking a question that somewhat is valid, even for a kid, but the answer is punishment, meaning do not question this guy who's supposed to be my God. From there, red flags started. I kept on questioning in my own head. I kept seeing discrepancy, contradictions, inequality, to where a lot of time my dad had the right to make decisions for me, and I never had the right to make decisions for myself. Fast forward, I started getting tortured, and I mean literally tortured, meaning I was beat up either by my own father, who was an Islamic leader, put in prison, lashed by judgment of some Sharia court, being arrested, dragged by my hair into a morality police car, my hair chopped off from back of my hijab because it was showing, on and on. And then the final point was when my father decided to literally give me away to a man who agreed to his price. And when I questioned that decision, he showed me a verse in Quran and said, look, right here, God gives me the right to give you away if they're paying the fair price. So you're theirs. This is my money. This is my opium. Go away. That was my last straw. That was it. I knew from there on, I will never, ever even entertain the possibility of this thing, of Allah being God or Islam being any kind of religion. But verbally, I did not leave it until I was safely placed in America. That's when I finally vocally said, I am not a Muslim any longer. But by heart, it started from age 8, basically.
Now, how did you wind up in America?
Oh, that is a very, very fun, long story. But after I was sold by my father, the man who bought me, clearly, I don't think I need to say he had mental issues, because when a grown man buys a 13, 14-year-old girl as mentally problem, he treated me as worse as he could. And my grandmother, who was raised before the revolution, so she was very familiar with there is another life out there. She hired the smugglers to get me out of the country from Iran to Turkey, to a town called Van. It's spelled V-A-N. I went to UN, told them my case. It was a confusing case because they'd never had an underage girl with no guardian trying to get asylum. But when I finally turned 16, they were able to create a case for me. From there, I proved who I am. I proved my case, got my asylum approval, applied for America, went through 2 interviews at US Embassy, and I got my approval, but I couldn't come in because I was underage with no guardian in America. Waited until I was 18, and at that point, they issued my ticket to fly from Turkey to Miami, from Miami to Chicago, and the rest is history.
Well, it's one thing to leave Islam, but it's another to fight political Islam. What made you make it your life's work to oppose Islam? And if you ever regretted this decision?
Do I regret it? No, not at all. Not at all. I feel like no matter what, up or down, it's worth doing it. What made me do it was I'm 38 today, so it's a lot easier to go over the cliff version of my life. But technically, by definition of any term of human rights, my entire childhood was destroyed by this cult. I got away from it, and I don't know if you can imagine Dr. Warner being 15 years old with a backpack ready. That was what my grandma handed to me in the middle of the night, and just go without ever looking back, walking into absolute unknown. You have no idea where you're going. You have no idea what's going to happen to you. But when you do that, when you make the decision to do that, that means what was behind you is the worst your mind could ever imagine. So you're willing to go into something that could be bad, but it could never be as worse as what you left behind. On that note, I stayed strong until I make it to America, and I started building life, learn the language, get a job, try to make a life. And one day I woke up in front of me, well, here it is, Islam right in front of me in the middle of America. There was no way I would keep quiet, possibly thinking, first of all, I'm never going back to that life. So that was the first thing. Secondly, I'm not going to watch all these people who are so clueless as to what this Islam thing is become slaves of this cult when I can tell them what's coming. So when I saw it here in America, I decided that's it. We're going public, and we're going to scream on top of our lungs and tell people what this is.
What's the hardest thing about your fight?
Oh, do I only have one?
And as much as you want. This is your interview.
I want to say, I'm going to say top 3 hardest, because they're, depending on the day, they're kind of equally hard, would be people who don't listen, who won't even entertain the knowledge. Another thing is people who undermined what I went through to defend what they don't know about. And I want to be clear, this isn't about me. I have survived. I'm still surviving every day. I am grateful to be in America. But when someone has the ability to undermine what a child has faced in order to not come out of their own comfort zone, facing a danger next door, that is scary for me as an American in America. And last but not least is the fact that no matter how this cult turns around our country in America, they are still being privileged in this country, whereas the people like me are losing privileges every day.
What's your biggest disappointment?
My fellow Americans not understanding they are losing their freedoms to this very ideology every day. That's my biggest disappointment.
Me too. Have exactly the same one. How do you see how this civilizational war has changed over the years you've been in it? Because I've seen some real changes, and
honestly,
not for the good.
That's the thing. I would say, if I would answer it as one general answer, we're losing the war. The more we speak out, the more we try to educate people and draw a conclusion into specific fact of why this is a war and why this is dangerous, the more the opposition is gaining momentum, the more the opposition is using labels and fear to push us back. The momentum they have gained and the power they have gained compared to what we've done, they're definitely 5 steps ahead of us as a general picture. But there are a few positive in there, at least for my last 7 years of doing this, is the fact that we are starting to find each other. As we mentioned, we've known each other for 7-8 years. So there was a time since September 11 until about 2008 the counter jihad movement was very scattered. Everybody was doing their own thing, but gradually, thanks to Hussein Obama and few mistakes he made, the counter jihad movement became a movement. So we are, at least few of us are working together rather than solo trying to do something which is impossible. That would be the only positive I've seen in the last 7 years, 8 years of my doing.
Do apostates work? How many apostates do you know? Are you all a community, or simply are you individuals?
We are individuals, but we do have our, let's say, for lack of a better term, underground community. Not an active community. It's just the underground, more of a support community for each other. But 95% are not active in any shape or form.
You have some companions. What is that wonderful guy from Turkey? I'm trying to think of the name of his show. I haven't seen it in a while yet, but he's also like you, very straightforward spoken. And so there are some people out there who are doing some great work, but I just wondered, one of the questions I used to ask Christians when I would be in their church, I had several questions to ask. And one of them is, have you ever had a Muslim apostate come and speak to your group? Because with me, what they tell me is, well, you couldn't know about Islam because you're not a Muslim. I've had Muslims say, you don't understand Islam because if you understood Islam, you would join. Do you ever get told as an apostate from Islam that you don't really understand Islam?
Literally all the time.
Really?
What I hear is, one, you had some bad experiences with your father and you're blaming it on Islam. Number two, you were born and raised in Iran, and regardless of Arabic being a mandatory second language in the country, starting second grade to be taught, you don't understand Arabic proper enough to understand Quran, which takes me back to the God who created all of us only speaks, writes, and reads Quran, Arabic, right? No other languages available. Those are the two things that I hear all the time from Muslims, that I have personal vendetta against my father, and because he was some confused Islamic sheikh, then I blame it on Islam. And secondly, not understanding the language.
That's pretty amazing. You say your father was a sheikh?
Yes, my father was a sheikh. Well, I should say he was a Shia sheikh, because there's a difference between a Shia. So what they call the Sunni muftis is the Shia sheikh. So a Shia sheikh is the person who can analyze Quran, who can create fatwas or judgments, who can implement criminal judgments. So that's what a sheikh in Shia country is.
One of my fears is how Muslims are so generous about money for jihad, and how uncaring kafirs are. And for those who don't know, I use the word kafir because I counted up in the Quran. I do my counting thing, as you know. The word kafir is used 324 times, and it all means unbeliever. So we're kafirs. And kafirs just don't seem to care. Does this bother you?
Yes, it does, all day long. It's interesting you say that, because a lot of people do agree we're in a spiritual war, but then they don't understand nobody won any war without money. You can't win a war for free. You just can't. It is what it is. I witnessed one of my biggest targets for I want to say since 2017 has been Linda Sarsour. And I never forget when she was supposedly attacked and she was worried. So she put up a campaign to raise money for her security, to hire security bodyguards. And within 24 hours, she raised $82,000. 24 hours, $82,000. But we have really genuine people who are fighting every day with threats and bounties on their head. Their houses are being broken into. Their events are being disturbed by people walking in and trying to blow them up, who cannot even manage to raise enough money to make it to their next destination of a speaking engagement. Yes, I'm talking about myself. So yes, we do have that big issue that Muslims are definitely backing each other up. But then again, in their own Quran, Allah said that the favorite Muslims to Allah are those who commit jihad with their wealth or their life. You either give money or you go kill yourself. It's obligatory to Muslims to pay for jihad money-wise, and if they have the capability to go blow themselves up. So it's part of their system. They have to pay them money. We don't have that system, which is okay, but mentally, if we don't have the common sense of understanding, we got to support those who are putting their neck out there.
Well, in America, we have an expression, money is the mother's milk of politics.
Good one. I'll remember that.
So, well, let's wrap this up by asking an important question to you. How can other people be in touch with your work?
Super easy, actually. Go to my website, liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.com. Everything I do is there. All my platforms are there. My artist store link is there. My sponsor links are there. Everything, liveuptofreedom.com.
Well, Annie, I knew it would be a delight, and it has been. Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure, Dr. Warner.